And what is the mark that you have humbled yourself? Here it is. God gives grace to the humble. And how do you know you got grace? You know, the verse we have preached for 45 years. Sin shall not rule over you when you are under grace. All these 45 years, whenever I've slipped up, even slightly, in my thoughts or with a rude word, I said, Lord, why did that happen? It wasn't some gross sin, some small slip up. Why did that happen? And God says, you did not get grace. Because if you had grace, you would not have slipped up. You would not have spoken that angry word. You would not have done that wrong thing. You would not have got upset with your husband or your wife. You did not get grace at that moment. And then I say, Lord, why didn't I get grace? Lord says, because you were proud. I give my grace only to the humble. So I learned that many years ago, that whenever I'm defeated by sin, even the slightest, supposing I find a thought I cannot conquer. Why? Only one reason, pride. You continue to get irritated with your wife, irritated with your husband. Only one reason. My brother, sister, don't say she is bad or he is bad. That is not the reason. Jesus was surrounded by the most evil people in the world, yet he never sinned. Don't say, I've got a wicked wife or a bad husband. No, you are proud. And you did not get grace. That's the only reason you got upset and irritated and lost your temper. At least remember that from today onwards, so that at least you can find a solution for it by going to God and saying, Lord, tell me, how can I get grace? And so whenever the Lord said to me, it's because you were proud, you didn't get grace, and because you didn't get grace, you slipped up there. The next question I asked the Lord was, Lord, show me where I am proud. And sometimes the Lord would show me something that happened the previous week where God blessed me in some way, and I was not quick to give the glory to God. I felt a little spiritual pride. I'm ashamed of it. But that's happened so often in the past that now I'm very quick to immediately not touch the glory of God. Do you know when you take credit for something that God did through you, you're touching the glory of God? You're touching something that's holy. And if you did that in the old covenant, you'd be smitten dead immediately. Uzzah once touched the ark of God. He just touched it, and he was smitten to death. Thank God we are under the new covenant. Have you touched the glory of God somewhere? Have you taken credit for your well-behaved children? God have mercy on you. Have you taken credit for the way you have prospered in your work or grown spiritually? God have mercy on you. Do you look down on others, thinking that you're better than them, instead of recognizing that it is God's mercy that's made you what you are? Humble yourself, my brother. And don't think that God cannot help you in tough situations, difficult situations. It says in verse 7, cast your anxiety upon him because he cares for you. I love that. God is not only opposed to the proud, he gives grace, and he cares for you. I love that verse. Oh, Father, you care for me. You care for me. So I don't want to grab anything. I don't want to fight with anybody for anything. I will not wrestle with flesh and blood for anything. We've had a couple of examples in our CFC churches of people who left CFC in some other parts of India and walked away with the church building, which was financed with CFC money. I said, take it. I will not fight with flesh and blood for anything. I am too busy fighting with Satan and evil forces. I have no time to come down to the level of fighting with human beings over silly things like property. Take it. Maybe you don't have that attitude, and that's why you're struggling with sin, because that property is more important for you than victory over sin. No property on earth or church property or my property is more important to me than living a pure Christ-like life. You take that attitude, and I tell you, you will come to victory very quickly. Your home life will be transformed. Your children will follow the Lord. So many wonderful things will happen in your life, which you're missing all these years because you're seeking the wrong things first. Cast your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. Never forget this verse, my brothers. I don't care who you are. He cares for you. And if God cares for me, why do I have to worry? I don't have to worry about anything. People cannot take a hair from my head, cannot touch a hair on my head without God's permission. He cares for us. That's why we have no anxiety. And then, this is the connection I wanted you to see. Humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, because God gives grace to the humble. Because, verse 8, be sober in this area. That means be very serious about this, because your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. How do you understand that verse? You think it's persecution? Let me tell you something. It says the devil seeking to someone to devour. He has never, in these 2,000 years, devoured any Christian by persecution. Never. Persecution purifies the church. Persecution purifies Christians. He devours people by pride. That's what that verse is referring to. That's why it is written in the context of humble yourself under the mighty hand of God. Verse 6, why should you humble yourself? Because the devil, who became the devil through pride, is like a roaring lion. His roar is the roar of pride. And he is seeking to swallow as many people as possible, not only in the world, but even among believers and even in CFC, through pride. So be alert. Be sober. I don't want to say that, oh, I preserved myself so long, so I'll be all right. No. It is God who preserves me, but I have a responsibility to be of sober spirit. That means to be serious and not to think that, oh, I'm beyond, now it's gone well with me for so long, so it'll go well with me forever. Then I'm in danger. I want to have a sober spirit which says, I want to be alert all the time against this roaring lion who's roaring and roaming around, and he's roam around CFC churches, and I'll tell you a number of cases I have seen in the last 45 years. Elder brothers who have fallen, devoured by Satan, not by persecution, by pride. They prospered financially after falling away. And you know what they say? See, we stood against CFC and God has prospered us financially. Just look around the world and see who are the people prospering financially today in other religions, and you'll see whether it is a blessing of God or something else. Don't ever think that financial prosperity is the blessing of God. God gives us more than enough of what we need. But that is not the primary blessing of God. That is the bonus He throws in. You know, like you work in a company, not for bonus. You work in a company for a salary. The bonus is thrown in extra. Whether you get it or don't get it, you work for your salary. And the salary God gives us is victory over sin. The bonus is a little financial blessing or prosperity. Always look at that as a bonus and not a salary. None of you will work in a company just to get a bonus. You work for a salary. I want my salary, overcoming sin. And if the bonus is thrown in of financial prosperity, I accept it. If not, it's quite okay. But that's not what I live for.